Hey folks, we got another project to do. I'm going to build a box for Christmas this year for one of my grandchildren. I did one for my first grandson a few years ago, and now the second grandson is old enough to build his. And so he's about the same age that I did one for the first one. And I'm planning to build this out of oak from a tree that was cut down in my yard several years ago, a red oak tree. And so that'll be kind of unique that it came from my own wood. I milled the oak tree into lumber, some blocks into some pieces of wood that I could then dry in my office over a couple of years, maybe a year and a half or whatever. So it's now got good water density in it, good and stable. And so I'm going to build the box out of that wood. The box should be about 6 inches long, maybe 3 inches wide, and 2.5 inches tall. I'll have a top on it, a lid that'll open and close. And then you can use it for putting all kinds of interesting things in there that kids might be interested in, a favorite rock or a favorite little toy or whatever. You'd be surprised what kids will try to keep. But hopefully it will become an heirloom piece for my grandson. They'll treasure for years to come. And I'd like to have some partitions inside the box so you can divide things up if needed be, and maybe a tray that can be lifted in and out. I haven't decided on all that or when I have the time to get it done by Christmas. So this project's got to be finished by Christmas. We'll do the video in several parts so that it can go out in pieces like this, part 1, part 2, and so forth. But I've got to get it done by Christmas. So be sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and also hit the bell button, and that'll notify you every time I have a new video. So I'm going to use a combination of power tools and hand tools. First box I did completely by hand, even resawed the wood by hand and everything. This time I'm going to use some power tools for the essence of time. And time to get to work. So let's get started shortly. Okay, time to get all the things I need. My marking gauge. And let's see, I may need my measuring tool. I need a piece of wax, paraffin wax, to lubricate the bandsaw blade. Let me think what else I need here. That ought to be that. And then over here, I've got a bunch of tools stored on this metal here because they all got magnetic things that hold on to them. Really none of them, except for the top one there, has anything to do with the bandsaw. And so let me put all this stuff right here so I can use it to work with. And I'm going to need my hearing aid, or not hearing aid, my hearing protection. That's it. And I got my push stick here. I have another push stick here. This push stick, both those will come in handy to use with this bandsaw right here. So that should do it. Oh, I need this piece of wood, and it's going to go in this little vise right here because I'm going to mark a center line on that piece of wood. Okay, I've picked up all my tools that I'm going to need. The first thing that I want to do is I want to wax the blade, the bandsaw blade, and I'll turn it on here, and I'm going to run the wax up and down the blade of the bandsaw. This is a very heavy cutting blade. It's about almost 1 inch wide, heavy steel, and it's got carbide tip teeth, 3 teeth per inch, so it's good for resawing wood. And resawing wood, let me show you a piece of wood. If I had a piece of wood like this, if I were to rip it, I would just rip it flat ways like this. That's what ripping wood is all about. Resawing it is cutting it in half this way, or cutting pieces off of it this way. So that's what resawing wood. And you can do some pretty interesting things with resawing wood as well. So let me turn on the blade and use this little paraffin wax to make that blade a little smoother and easier to push through. that's all it takes to get that blade prepared for resawing on there. I've got everything else all set up. Now we got to go mark the wood to be sure we cut it right down the center. So we'll have two pieces that are of equal width, and whatever the width comes out to be, that's going to be the width of the walls of the box. They're going to be fairly thin. I want the box to be kind of delicate, but sturdy enough with the joinery so that if you drop it, it doesn't break and all that. So talk to you later. Okay, so here's a piece of wood that I've mounted on here, and we're going to use a couple of jigs to mark the center of this board, because I've got to adjust the fence on that bandsaw to be exactly right. So here's the tip of the pencil coming out of the little centering jig, and the way the centering jig works is you just put this edge over on one side and this edge over on the other side, and that makes that pencil directly in the center. And the pencil came up. Let me do it again. So that gives me a nice center line on that piece of wood. So the next thing we do is I'm going to take this marking gauge, because I got to mark it on the edge and on the front edge of this thing as well, so that we know exactly where it is. This is a nice little marking gauge that you can pull a bit in and out, and it's got a sharp point here, but you can also replace that with a pencil. I'll show you that in just a minute. So let me see if you can see this. So I'm going to do it kind of backwards from the way I normally do it, so that you can see it. But I'm going to find the center. Actually, let me just move this out of the way. I'm going to find the center of that. Move the light a little bit so it comes in a little bit better. Find the center of that line right there. And so no matter where this is, that little point is on that center. I move this up to the edge of it, and I tighten it like that. So now that will mark the center. And I could use this to mark it, but I prefer a pencil at this point with the bandsaw. So I'll take out the pointed steel version, and in the very back of this thing is screwed in a pencil version, and I'll screw the pencil version in the same place, and it will exactly coincide with the, so you can see the pencil point coming out right there. And so now I can continue to mark this pencil line, and I mark it on there and the front. And I'm going to mark it from both sides just in case it's off by a little bit. So it is off by a little bit, but exactly in the center of those two pencil lines is the center of the board. So I'll use that when I'm bandsawing, and what I'll do is I'll push the blade in from this side, and that'll be my gauge to get started. Once I'm started, I can go all the way down through that piece of wood. So that should do that. Okay, it's time to resaw this piece of wood. We've already waxed the blade. I need to set the fence now, and I'll be showing you the overhead camera as I do that. Let me zoom in on this a little bit. So while I've got it zoomed in, I'll use both the other overhead and this front view. I want to get that centered up. If you can see the line right here, I want that line to be directly in the middle of that blade, so I need to move the fence over to this point, and I'm going to keep adjusting this fence until, let me get a blade raised up just a little bit where I can see the edge of the blade just as it enters there. That looks pretty close, so I'll tighten the fence. Nope, that needs to go back just a tad. That looks good. So I should be able to do this. I'm going to put on my ear protection. Let me zoom out again. I'll put on my ear protection, and I'll turn on the, I got to turn the dust collector on. I've got it hooked up to bandsaw here. It's kind of hard to hear with the dust collector on, so I'll try not to make any comments until I'm finished resawing this piece of wood. I'm going to push the wood through here very slowly. I may speed it up when I'm editing, just so we can get back to that point, because it's kind of boring watching me push a piece of oak is real hard, so pushing it through here is going to have to be a slow process. So here we go. Push stick. Waiting for it to get up to speed. Now here we go. I don't know whether the horsepower on this bandsaw is too little for such hard wood like this. I didn't get it exactly center, but that's okay. It was close, and we'll go with that. I may cut another piece, but I'll do that off camera. So anyway, that's how you resaw a piece of wood, and you're going to see that it's got quite a few striation marks in it from the rough cut of the bandsaw blade. And so that'll all have to be planed down smooth, making it thinner yet. So we'll see how that goes. Anyway, we'll see you on the other side. Okay, folks, we're going to be setting up the planer. And it's in the garage, and I've got to take it out to the yard or the driveway to run. Let me get my extension cord put out here first. We'll take this down and set this down right here and lay it out like this. So that's going to be the end of it. It's going to be sitting over here. So I'll go ahead and take this over and roll it out. The planer sits on this wall over here. Let me see if I can get it past all of this. The way this thing works is its own wheels. You push this wheel down like this, and it comes up, and I can move it right out. So far so good. Comes down my little concrete ramp here. I have to drag a little bit. All right, now we can go over here. You turn around so I can push it. All right, now. No wonder. So this ought to be a good spot for it. I'll raise this up and it'll sit steady like this. Now, this is the feed direction. Going this way, we pull this down. I've got it set real low, so I'm going to have to, I don't know if I need to raise it up or not. But anyway, we drop this down. We take the extension cord off. It's just wind up and plug her in. Hopefully she won't come on when I plug it in. Alright, that looks good. It's a very loud thing, so as it's running, I'll be in editing, I'll make that sound go down. I do need to go get my earphones on to my ear protectors on. Sound protection, hearing protection, that's what it is. I do need to get that. I'm going to raise this up a little bit, and this is what locks it. That's what releases it, so it should come up just fine. Let me go get the wood and the hearing protection. So it's not so much wood, but I gotta think about what I'm doing here. Okay, so this is a real thin piece that I'll make partitions out of. That won't be quite wide enough. The rest of them, this one's kind of thin too, so I'll set it to that side. These three, well, there's two of them thin. I'm going to do this one first because it's the most promising one. It's smooth on this side already, so I'll be laying the smooth side down and running it through like that. So let's go all the way down until it touches. It's still smoothing. All right, now it's starting to tighten. So that's about where I want to start, is there. And it won't cut much on the first run, but it will on the others. So here it goes. Okay, it looks like we're not getting any wood out of this particular piece, so I've got to lower it. A quarter of a turn is a 64th of an inch, and a half turn is a 32nd of an inch. So I'm going to turn it a half turn each time and run it through. This may catch some wood, but still not quite enough to smooth the entire top of the board. And so I need to turn it one more 32nd of an inch, and I push it through again, and it gets it all the way. I think this is going to be smooth now. So now it looks like we need to do it one more time. So one more time I'm doing it. This is a voiceover, by the way. So now you can see all the dust coming out, and so that means that it got it. And it feels smooth all the way across. So that one's looking good. And so now we'll set that aside and try to get the next one to match up to it. So that piece is going to go through, and looks like it actually didn't touch much at all. It did a little bit, but not much. So we're going to have to count the one. That's one 32nd, and it looks like that got it smooth, so I had to add one more 32nd. So I need to take off a 32nd from that previous one I just did. So I'll pick the previous one and leave it on that same setting, and it takes another 32nd off right here. So that's gonna get that one to match up. So those two should match up just fine. And I've got a third one right here, and I'm not sure where that one's going to be, but I'll set those two down to the side there, and we'll try to get these next three actually to match up. So I think I did the smaller ones first as a pair, and then now we're going to get this to match up. So I'm trying to look and see where we are with these and what measurement we are. So I'm going to roll this up until it actually starts working here. So I do it 3 times. I run it through, and it gets some out, and I'm not sure if I need to do it one more time or not. I do, so I go another half turn. or a 32nd of an inch, and that is going to take care of this one. And that looks good. Let's try it again. One more half turn, another 32nd of an inch, and that gets it pretty smooth right there. So I'll check to see if it matches that one, and it doesn't, so I'm going to go one more down, another 32nd of an inch, and so now that one is as thin as I think I want to get that. So those three match up just fine right there. So we got three pieces that we can use that are all the same, and those two down there at the bottom were thinner than the other ones. And matter of fact, I don't even think I ever did those, so we may decide not to do those. I can't remember whether I did them or not. No, I decided not to do those yet. So we got three pieces that we can use to build the boxes with, and the other ones. All right. Now, I don't know whether you heard anything I said as a result of that, because this thing was so loud. But I'll try to isolate just the voice on that. I don't know whether I can do that with that recording thing or not. But here's the last step in cleaning this process up. See, I don't have a big enough shop to put all the tools that I have in there. And the garage is full. Lumber on that side, other tools and storage on this side, storage on the back side. It is full. And so I've got just enough room for a tool, a dolly, a planer, my scroll saw cutter, and a few other tools underneath there that I don't use very often, and then my yard tools and stuff hanging up here. So no more tools, no large joiners, no large things like that. I gotta make do with what I got. And believe it or not, there's ways to do that. And oh, I came over here to get this, the blower. This is gonna be loud. I want to blow all that sawdust off into the grass and clean up this piece of machinery here. Look, I need to say that this is how we roll it up. Anyway, so around this side first, next, then up here, here. Now it's got room to kind of fold down back up under there and be out of the way. Here's the wood. I'll park it right here for now. Push the jack down so it's on wheels. Get it upset. Alright, that did the trick. And it's got to be perfect tolerance in order for all these tools to be able to come out and fit where they go. I can get that wheel where it's lined up with the wheel. Get these tools out of the way so it can go all the way back and then raise this up and it's set. Now this comes out, everything comes out just like it's supposed to. Okay, the cord gets wrapped up. I think I will show you this because this is the best way to roll up a cord, in my opinion. It's not so tight like that. Somebody else did that. That used the cord and brought it back like that. But you want to get it where it's about that long. And you see how it's messed up? If I do this, it's messed up. So I can turn this around and keep turning it around until it fits. And then See, it's all wound up from before. That'll relax a little bit as it warms up. It's 39 degrees out here right now, so the cord is kind of stiff. I need to turn around one. See, instead of trying to twist the long end that's notched out, you just twist this piece that's in your hand so that it fits better. Hands are getting cold. That's up. And then here's the final piece that we put in here. So now we get it to where both ends hang down about the same length, this one and this one. And then we hang it up on the wall like that. And I use this little thing to wrap it with. Actually, I think I changed my mind. I was going to use this a while back and I forgot. If this wrap it thing just holds it together, I can hang it directly by the cord itself. So it wraps it up with Velcro and it goes right up there like that. That'll all relax down as it gets warmer. Okay. Pick up these two pieces. Always clean up after yourself when you finish doing something. And put all your tools back in the place where they're supposed to be. Every tool should have a place, and every tool should be in its place. And that way, and if you get a new tool, you got to find a place or make a place, and that's where it's going to be. And you're able to keep your shop organized. Now, in the middle of a project, it'll be a mess. But if you can do it at the end of every day, or even in the middle of the day, twice a day, in other words, it's worthwhile to keep your workspace clear of things. Makes you happier as you work, too. And you can see I've got that tool wall that I use all the time to put all my often used tools all hanging up here, measuring everything. There's no real organization other than places for each thing, and I know where they are, and so forth. Okay, folks, that's it for the part one of the Christmas box series that we've got to get done before Christmas. So part one will be the first installment, and we'll have several more between now and when the Christmas time comes. So anyway, today we got the bandsaw work, the resawing of the lumber, and we got it all planed and dimensioned. So the next step will be in part two for cutting the lumber to our size and making our joints, getting it glued up, and eventually we'll be putting hardware on, and we'll be putting, doing the finishing on it, making partitions for it. Lots of things to do left. Some of that joinery work, I still haven't decided exactly how I'm going to do it, but I could do mitered spline joints, or I could do dovetail joints. One of those options is going to be done because we need it for it to be strong. And so anyway, stay tuned. Be sure to subscribe and to click that like button, and to press the bell button so that it'll notify you when we get new videos put out. Trying to build a channel here, mostly because I want to do these series for my grandchildren, because they're going to inherit all this stuff when I'm no longer able to use it, and hopefully they'll be old enough, and I'll be able to enjoy watching them use some of this equipment when they get old enough. But until then, I'm going to be teaching things that some of you might like to know. I really enjoy watching woodworking videos from a bunch of other creators out there. So anyway, good talking to you, good seeing you. See you on the next video.